The moment the carrier door opened, the cat froze. Not from fear, from recognition. He was staring at a ghost from his past. The house had been too quiet for too long. Every morning, Eleanor woke up to silence. Every evening, she ate dinner alone. The chair across from her, empty. The laughter that once filled these walls, gone. 3 months. That's how long it had been since she lost him. And grief? Grief doesn't ask permission. It just moves in. But Eleanor wasn't the type to let darkness win. She'd always believed that love, in any form, could heal even the deepest wounds. So, one cold afternoon, she made a decision. She was going to adopt a cat. The animal shelter smelled like hope mixed with sadness. Rows of cages lined the walls, each one holding a life waiting to be chosen. Eleanor walked slowly, her eyes scanning every face. Some cats meowed at her, others pressed their noses against the bars, desperate for attention. But then, she saw him, a ginger cat, tucked into the farthest corner of his cage. His amber eyes watching her, but his body curled tight, like he'd learned long ago not to expect anything good. The volunteer sighed. "That's Benjamin. He's been here 4 months. Sweet boy, but broken, I think. He doesn't trust easily." Eleanor knelt down. She didn't reach for him. She just looked. And Benjamin looked back. Something passed between them. Something unspoken. Something that said, "I know what it's like to lose everything." "I'll take him," Eleanor whispered. The volunteer blinked in surprise. "Are you sure? He barely comes out. He might take a long time to—" "I'm sure." As Eleanor filled out the adoption forms, the volunteer told her Benjamin's story. He'd been found wandering the streets, alone and scared. No collar, no chip, no history. "We think someone abandoned him," the volunteer said quietly. "He was so thin when he came in, and scared of everything. It took us weeks just to get him to eat." Eleanor's heart ached. She looked back at Benjamin, still huddled in his cage. "Well, he's not alone anymore," she said firmly. The volunteer smiled, a little sadly. "I hope he realizes that." Eleanor hoped so too. Benjamin stayed silent in the carrier the entire drive. His heart pounded, his mind raced. Where am I going? Will it be safe? Will I be alone again? He'd spent so long in that cage, he'd almost forgotten what a home felt like. The streets had been cold, hungry, dangerous. The shelter had been empty, just walls and silence and the smell of too many lost souls. But as the car pulled into the driveway, something strange stirred inside him, a flicker, a faint, buried memory. He couldn't place it, not yet. Eleanor carried the carrier inside and set it down gently in the living room. "Okay, Benjamin," she said softly, "this is your new home. Take your time." She opened the door. Benjamin stepped out slowly, his paws silent on the hardwood floor. His ears twitched, his nose lifted, and then he froze. Sitting on the couch, bathed in afternoon sunlight, was another ginger cat, older, calmer, but nearly identical. The other cat, Leo, had been lounging, half asleep, but the moment Benjamin stepped into view, his eyes snapped open. For a long, breathless moment, neither of them moved. Eleanor watched, confused. "Leo, sweetie, this is Benjamin. Be nice, okay?" But Leo wasn't looking at Eleanor. He was staring at Benjamin like he'd seen a ghost. And Benjamin? His entire body trembled. I know you. The scent, the eyes, the tilt of the head, the way his ears folded just slightly at the tips. I know you. Leo rose slowly from the couch and stepped down, his movements careful, tentative. Benjamin's legs felt weak, his heart hammered so hard he thought it might burst. Brother? Memories flickered. A warm basket, the smell of milk, tiny bodies pressed together, a purr that rumbled through all of them like a heartbeat. Brother. Leo approached. 1 step, 2. Benjamin wanted to run, wanted to hide, but something deeper, something ancient and true, kept him frozen in place. And then, nose to nose, they touched. A flood of memories hit Benjamin all at once. The warmth of their mother, the sound of her licking their fur, the feeling of being safe, loved, together. And then, the day everything changed. The day human hands pulled them apart. The day he lost the only family he'd ever known. He'd cried for weeks, searched every corner of wherever they'd taken him, called out in the darkness, but Leo never came. Until now. Eleanor's breath caught in her throat. She didn't understand. Not yet. But as the two cats began to groom each other, as they rubbed their faces together, as they curled into one another like puzzle pieces finding their match, she felt it. She ran to her phone and pulled up the adoption records. Benjamin, 4 months at the shelter. Surrendered as an adult. Origin unknown. Leo, adopted 8 years ago. From the same shelter, same litter, same backstory. Her hands shook as she read. "Oh my God," she whispered. "You're brothers." That night, Eleanor couldn't sleep. She kept getting up to check on them. Every time, she found them in the same position, curled together on the couch, Benjamin's head tucked under Leo's chin. She'd never seen anything like it. Leo had always been independent, affectionate, yes, but on his own terms. He'd never cuddled like this, never needed anyone. But with Benjamin, it was like he'd found a missing piece of himself. And Benjamin, the scared, broken cat who wouldn't even look at the shelter volunteers, was purring so loudly Eleanor could hear it from across the room. She sat in the armchair, tears streaming down her face. "You found each other," she whispered. "After all this time, you found each other." The transformation was immediate. Benjamin, the shy, broken cat who'd spent months hiding in the shadows, became a different animal entirely. He followed Leo everywhere. They ate side by side. They napped tangled together in the sunbeams. They played like kittens, chasing invisible prey and tumbling across the floor. Leo taught Benjamin the layout of the house, where the best napping spots were, which window got the most sun, where Eleanor kept the treats. And Benjamin? He reminded Leo what it felt like to be needed, to be someone's whole world. At night, they slept curled around each other, their purring a soft, synchronized hum. Eleanor would sit and watch them, tears streaming down her face. Because she understood now. This wasn't just about giving a lonely cat a home. This was about healing something that had been torn apart. This was about second chances, about fate, about love finding its way back, even after years of separation. She thought about her husband, about the mornings they used to share, about the way he'd hold her hand across the table. And she realized something powerful. Loss is real. Grief is real. But so is reunion. So is hope. So is the possibility that even after everything falls apart, something beautiful can be rebuilt. Week by week, Benjamin bloomed. The fear in his eyes faded. His steps became confident. His purr grew louder. He started jumping into Eleanor's lap while she read. He'd knead her legs with his paws, his eyes half closed in contentment. Sometimes Leo would join them, and they'd sandwich Eleanor between their warm bodies. "You've come so far, sweet boy," she whispered, stroking Benjamin's soft fur. And it was true, because Benjamin had learned something essential. You can survive alone, but you were never meant to. Leo had taught him that. Eleanor had taught him that. And in return, Benjamin had taught Eleanor something too, that even in the darkest, loneliest moments, love has a way of finding you. One afternoon, Eleanor's neighbor stopped by. "I heard you adopted another cat," she said, peeking into the living room where Leo and Benjamin were grooming each other. "I did," Eleanor said, smiling. "They look like twins." "They're brothers, actually. They were separated 8 years ago. I didn't know when I adopted Benjamin. They just found each other." The neighbor's eyes widened. "That's incredible. What are the odds?" Eleanor shook her head. "I don't think it was odds. I think it was meant to be." Sometimes Eleanor wondered about that day. What if she'd walked past Benjamin's cage? What if she'd chosen a different cat? What if Leo had never come into her life 8 years ago? The universe had aligned in such a specific way. One decision, made years apart, had brought 2 souls back together. It reminded her that nothing is truly random, that the people and animals we're meant to find will find us, one way or another. Benjamin had wandered the streets, lost and alone, until someone brought him to that exact shelter. Eleanor had walked through those doors on that exact day, and Leo had been waiting, all along, for his brother to come home. Eleanor never planned to adopt one cat, let alone reunite 2 brothers separated for nearly a decade. But life doesn't always go according to plan. Sometimes it gives you exactly what you didn't know you needed. Now, every morning, Eleanor wakes up to the sound of purring. Every evening, she's greeted by 2 ginger cats who wait by the door. And that chair across from her? It's not empty anymore. It's where Leo and Benjamin sit together, grooming each other, their tails intertwined. She still misses her husband. She always will. But she's learned that healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means making space for new love, new memories, new beginnings. Because sometimes the universe brings you exactly who you need, exactly when you need them most. And sometimes that's not just one soul, it's 2. 2 souls who'd been searching for each other across cities, across years, across impossible odds. And finally, they were home. If you're feeling lost today, if grief has made your world smaller, if loneliness has made you forget what connection feels like, remember Eleanor. Remember Benjamin. Remember Leo. Remember that love doesn't end. It transforms. It returns. It finds its way home. Even after 8 long years. Even when all hope seems lost. Even when you think you'll never feel whole again. Love finds a way. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Because everyone deserves a second chance at love, even the ones who've been waiting in the shadows.